Adam, some contract news coming in today. Let's start in New York with the Jets.
The new Jets general manager, Darren Muji, said today that he does plan to pick up the fifth-year contract options on 3 former first-round draft picks from 2022. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson. No surprise, all have played well. The Jets would like to retain all 3, and the picking up the option is just the start of contract extension talks with all the players. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Eagles reached agreement today on a 4-year, $68 million extension with the successor to Jason Kelce. Pro Bowl center Cam Jurgens ties him up contractually to Philadelphia through the 2029 season. No team's been more aggressive about locking up its offensive line long-term than the Eagles.
Yeah, that's how you win Super Bowls, right? Adam, let's talk about the Saints a little bit. They have the 9th and 40th overall picks. What are you hearing about the QB plans in New Orleans?
Everybody's waiting to see what the Saints do in round 1 at number 9. And again, they still could go quarterback, but I think the prevailing wisdom across the league is that that's not the likely pick at number 9 for New Orleans, that New Orleans will opt to wait to get a quarterback later in this draft, potentially with its 2nd round draft pick. The Saints are scheduled to have the 40th overall pick. They've already begun to make some exploratory phone calls about moving up in the 2nd round. And I think we need to keep in mind, the Browns are at 33, the first pick of the 2nd round. The Giants are at 34. The Saints obviously would like to get as high up in that mix, bypass some of these teams if possible, to get up there to get a quarterback. But it certainly sounds like the Saints are looking to add a quarterback in this draft. It doesn't sound like a quarterback is the likely selection at number 9.
Yeah, Adam, as you well know, in the latest mock draft from Mel Kiper and Field Yates, their combo mock draft, they have the Browns being the team that trades up to get Jackson Dart. And speaking of him, he proved his worth at Ole Miss, particularly on play action and throws deep downfield. Last season, Dart ranked top 2 in FBS in both. The Saints relied on those deep throws last season under Clint Kubiak at the 7th highest rate in the league. So, Dan, let's look at the Saints quarterback options and start with Dart specifically. What should we make out of him as a prospect?
I think he's so much better than people expected. He's Bo Nix to me last year. When you watched the tape, you're like, I did not expect him to be this good of a player. Now, if you are going to draft him, I think one of the staples of your offense has to be the crosser. It's something that Ole Miss did a ton. He's very comfortable seeing it. It happens to be something Kellen Moore does a ton. Play action, you pull the backside guard. Those internal backers, not the quarterback's responsibility. It's that nickel defender up top. What type of throw is needed? He hangs inside. It's a little bit of a touch throw, just up over some underneath defenders. Perfect. Very similar play. You're going to get that crossing route this time versus man coverage, not zone. He peeks the bottom of the screen, sees the defender run with the tight end. Man coverage crosser. Once you see that space is vacated, quarterback has to know firm ball, throw it to space, because that defender is going to be trailing on the back hip. You want to have the runner's type of ball right on his face. Those are 2 clips, perfect examples. And I also love the fact that he sees the field well when he has to throw some of these. Tight ends this time is going to sit down. It's the same play, but last time he floated it, this time he pins it on his back shoulder. So often we talk about arm strength. It does matter. It's not this thing like it's end-all be-all, but this ball from the right hash is going to be thrown at about the 41-yard line before the receiver comes out of his cut, and he's going to put it on that receiver's face mask at about the 35-yard line. So we're talking 25-yard throw. So the arm strength is there, the physical talent is there. I think that if you're going to draft Jackson Dart, you want to utilize the athleticism, the quarterback run early, and just see how much he feels space in the middle of the field. A lot of the throws at Ole Miss were downfield. And I think the more that you get comfortable with what his comfort level is with that, you know how to kind of build your offense around him.
I love that. And as I look at it, as what you're saying, it's trying to find the right fit for him, because some of the stuff you're describing, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers with the weapons they have on the outside, crossing routes, down the field throws, seem like they fit just who he is 100%. As a quarterback. I called his game against Alabama 2 years ago, and what stood out to me was the toughness. I remember him scrambling, getting smacked by a middle linebacker over the middle, and I'm up in the booth, and all I'm thinking about is slide, and he jumps right back up and continues to be in the game and continues to compete. So I look at this as a quarterback coming from a defensive perspective. When I have a guy in the huddle that I know is going to compete his butt off, can make every single throw, and has the moxie to be a leader, that's a guy I want under center.
We'll get to Mina in a minute, but Adam, you had something to add.
Yeah, it's interesting because these quarterbacks each have proponents in various cities across the league. But the one thing that's come back is there are people across the league who believe that the Saints really like Jackson Dart. And that may be the target of moving up in the second round. We'll see if the Saints can figure out a way to land Jackson Dart if that's true. But I can tell you, there's a feeling across the league that the quarterback that the Saints really happen to like in this particular draft class is none other than Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I like the quote there. The executive, the Saints are, quote, hot and heavy on Jackson Dart. Mina, you've watched the tape. What sticks out to you about him and maybe potentially the fit with the Saints?
Yeah, a lot of things Dan talked about. The arm talent, the arm strength, the athleticism was perhaps the most surprisingly in a good way thing to me. He's a really good runner. And I think all of those tools will translate to the NFL. But and this is maybe where Dan and I differ, I think he needs time. I mean, that Ole Miss offense is just so different from what he's going to see in the NFL. I personally, Dan, I would love him with a team where he could take a Jordan Love type route. And Jordan Love was taken at the end of the first round, of course, and has proven to be a success story. And I do question whether the Saints are that team. I mean, this is a team that was 29th in pass block win rate last year, running back that offensive line. The receiving group is led by Chris Olave, but he's got injury history. I don't love that for Jackson Dart. I think when I think about what is it going to take for him to have success in the NFL, I do worry that the Saints aren't the best environment for him.
I totally agree. You would want him to sit. A lot depends on what the Derek Carr situation story actually is in New Orleans, and I think that's a little bit to be determined. I just think the young man is so physically talented and had to make so many difficult throws. If you can clean up his feet, and we'll get into that once we get to Green Bay at the back end of this week, if you clean up his feet a little bit to the way that Drake May did with the New England Patriots, I think you got to steal the draft.
Yeah, you also have guys there that are great with quarterbacks, of course, so I think that makes a big difference as well. All right, still to come, Jalen Milroe may have the most upside of any quarterback in this class, but where can he thrive? Well, J-Mac is going to tell us which team he thinks is the perfect fit for the former Alabama quarterback. Stick around to find out about that. You're watching NFL Live, presented by Lowe's. Oh, there's a look at Lambeau. We'll be there.
A recent news story has been causing a stir among NFL fans and experts. It's a rumor that suggests the Philadelphia Eagles might be willing to trade their star, A.J. Brown, to the New England Patriots in exchange for the 4th pick in the NFL Draft. This rumor has sparked an intense debate, and in this video, we'll break down all the details of this proposal, which many consider absurd, analyzing why, in practice, it seems to have no solid foundation. Stay with us, because there's a lot to discuss about this story. Before diving into the details of this trade rumor, it's important to highlight that the Eagles' financial situation is quite complicated. Currently, the team has less than $12 million in cap space, which makes any significant moves, like trading A.J. Brown, very difficult to pull off. Additionally, the team needs that flexibility to keep their key players and continue competing at the highest level. This financial situation is a key aspect in understanding why the idea of trading Brown for a draft pick seems more like a fantasy than a realistic possibility. To get a clearer perspective on this rumor, let's take a look at the Eagles' financial situation. Trading A.J. Brown might seem like an attractive option, but in reality, it would significantly increase the team's financial commitments for 2025, potentially putting them over the salary cap. On top of that, the team needs draft picks, since the Eagles' roster is already well-positioned. Sacrificing a talent like Brown to get a high-level draft pick would be an unnecessary risk. Even if the team is interested in selecting Abdul Carter, a promising defender, the idea of trading Brown doesn't seem viable or logical from a strategic standpoint. What do you think about all of this? Do you think the Eagles should consider selecting Abdul Carter in the draft, even if it means parting with a player of A.J. Brown's quality? Or, on the other hand, do you think it would be a huge mistake and a senseless move? We'd love to hear your opinion, so leave it in the comments. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter, the bombshell of this speculation. Let's talk about what it would actually mean to trade A.J. Brown for draft picks with the Patriots, and what this move could mean not just for the Eagles, but for the NFL season as a whole. You won't want to miss what we have to say about this. The big question here is the proposal to trade A.J. Brown, along with several draft picks, to the New England Patriots in order to secure the 4th pick in the draft and select Abdul Carter. This idea seems absurd for several reasons. First, it's an extremely risky move, and second, the Eagles' salary situation makes this trade practically impossible to execute. Both Eagles and Patriots fans have questioned the credibility of this information, and it seems that, in reality, it's just a rumor with no solid foundation. If this proposal had any real basis, it would have a huge impact on the dynamics of the Eagles team. They'd lose a player of A.J. Brown's caliber, who is a key piece of their offense, to take a gamble on a draft pick, which could seriously hurt their chances for next season. Additionally, the trade with the Patriots would also negatively impact the Eagles' salary cap, putting the continuity of other key players at risk. The financial implications of this transaction are, without a doubt, one of the biggest obstacles to this kind of trade happening. In your opinion, would it be a risky move for the Eagles to trade A.J. Brown? Or do you think such a move could be beneficial under certain circumstances? Leave your comment below and share your thoughts on what this possible transaction would mean for the future of both the Eagles and the Patriots. Stay tuned for our updates on the Eagles and other important moves in the NFL. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay on top of the hottest news in American football. We'll see you in the next video.